Type 2 diabetes, also known as adult onset diabetes, is a metabolic disorder characterised by high blood glucose. Obesity is thought to be the primary cause of type 2 diabetes in people who are genetically predisposed. Thus, overweight people have increased levels of glucose circulating in their blood. The pancreas is an organ which produces hormones that control blood glucose levels. The hormones that control blood glucose are produced by clusters of cells in the pancreas called islets. Here glucose is shown arriving at the islets via the bloodstream. The glucose is taken up by cells in the islet called beta cells. The beta cells respond by producing the hormone insulin, which lowers blood glucose. In type 2 diabetes, high levels of glucose stimulate the beta cells to produce lots of insulin to lower the blood glucose levels. The insulin is taken up by the blood vessels for transport to muscle, liver, and fat, where it allows those tissues to absorb glucose. Unfortunately, sustained production of insulin also leads to secretion of large amounts of another hormone-like substance by the beta cells. White blood cells, which live in the islet, respond to this hormone and consume it. We are now inside an islet white blood cell at a magnification of 250,000 times. The hormone, in combination with high glucose, causes production of free radicals inside the white cell. The free radicals activate a sentinel protein that originally evolved to protect us from microbial infection, causing it to unwind. The newly active sentinel proteins then aggregate with 6 other proteins to form a ring. Seven adaptor proteins then bind to the ring. The adaptor proteins work to capture specialised inactive proteins from the surrounding cell fluid, bringing 2 halves together to form the active whole, which is then released. This entire structure is called the inflammasome, and its sole purpose is to act as a platform for combining and activating these proteins. The newly active proteins then convert yet another small signalling protein, splitting it into its active form. This protein is the key protein involved in inflammation in the body. The inflammatory protein is then secreted from the white blood cells into the islet. Unfortunately, this inflammatory protein causes death of the beta cells. Over time, beta cell death causes the islets to shrink, accelerating disease progression. As the islets are now greatly reduced in size, they cannot produce enough insulin to control blood glucose levels. Over time, high blood glucose causes damage to many different tissues throughout the body. What originally evolved as a defence mechanism against infection now seems to be a driving force for inflammation in type 2 diabetes. Chronic diseases associated with inflammation are the most common diseases of ageing in the Western world and represent our greatest health threats in the 21st century.
Hi guys, this is Dr. Ahmed Ergin. I am an endocrinologist and a diabetes specialist. I have a lot of passion to treat diabetes. Again, today we are talking about how to correct your blood sugars when they are high very quickly. Now, of course, I get a lot of calls, sometimes they'll say, oh, my blood sugars were running normal, okay, whatever, and now suddenly I have a 300 blood sugar. Now, most of the time, it is due to a mistake. You may have forgotten your medication, or you may have eaten something that actually has a lot of carbs that you don't realize, or you just decide to indulge, whatever. That's okay. You're a human being, but it happens. Or sometimes they put you on steroids, whatever it may be. Then your blood sugars are off the roof. And of course, you panic. You don't know what to do. You try to call the doctor. If the doctor replies to you, but then you don't know what to do. Now, a couple things that I can tell you. Definitely, if your blood sugars are too high, don't panic. Unless you're having like nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, rapid breathing. These are the signs that you need to go to hospital for. You don't want to wait for a doctor's call for that. You're having these problems like nausea, vomiting, breathing problems, then you should go to hospital if your blood sugars are more than 300, 400. But if your blood sugars are high, but you're not really symptomatic, you're just worried about your blood sugar, a couple things you can do. Now, number one, the easiest way is take a walk. Take a brisk walk that allow your muscles to absorb the sugars, and it's going to come down. If you go take a sprint, that can actually increase your blood sugars because of the adrenaline response. So you don't want to do an intense exercise. Like you don't want to go crazy and go on the treadmill and start running 10 miles an hour. You don't want to do that. You want to get on the treadmill and just go like maybe 4 or 5 miles an hour for like 30 minutes, and then you're going to realize that your blood sugars are coming down nicely. Now, if you cannot do that, or if you're not in a situation to do that, let's say you're in a friend's house or something that you don't want to leave just to take a walk or whatever, well, in that case, if you have a fast-acting insulin such as Novolog or Humalog or Apidra, and if you have a sliding scale, definitely go for it. If your doctor has given you a sliding scale that says if your blood sugar is that high, take that much insulin, then apply that. And of course, monitoring your blood sugar a little bit more often. Say you take an extra shot of insulin to bring the blood sugar down, then you should check it again in 2 to 3 hours to make sure it's coming down. If it keeps rising and you're giving insulin, that means that you have a problem and you really need to talk to your doctor at that point, or if you're getting symptoms. Sometimes checking your ketones, and if you have like moderate to large ketones in your urine, that's another bad sign that you may be too late to correct yourself. But otherwise, using sliding scale can bring your blood sugars down fairly quickly as long as you have that handy. Now, what you should not be doing is taking extra long-acting insulin such as Lantus, Levemir, Tresiba, Toujeo. These are long-acting insulins, or even Novolin N, Humulin N. Some people will say, oh, I'll just take more long-acting insulin, but think like this. Long-acting insulins are like 18-wheeler trucks. It's like trying to say, oh, well, I have to go from, say, Florida to California, and I'll go get an 18-wheeler. That's not a great idea, right? So you have a long way to go, and you don't want to go with a slow truck. You want to bring the blood sugar down fast, so you have to use a fast-acting insulin. You need a Ferrari to go fast. So, in this case, you need to use fast-acting insulin such as Novolog, Humalog. Otherwise, those long-acting insulins will bring your blood sugar down, but it's going to take forever. When I say forever, it's like it's going to take 8 to 10 hours. And then those long-acting insulins do not really stop working after 8 or 10 hours. They actually last 24 or more hours. Then you are actually risking yourself to go low later down the road. So do not do that. And also, if your blood sugars are high, sometimes people use glipizide, glyburide, glimepiride, glycoside, whatever. Those drugs are not my favorite because when you take them, yeah, it boosts your insulin production, but you really don't know how much insulin you're getting from it. You can take an extra dose of that medication, but you have to carefully monitor your blood sugar a little bit more often, at least every 3 to 5 hours. And then if your blood sugars are going too low, then you need to do something about that, which we have a video about that as well, how to correct blood sugar when they're low correctly. So I hope that video was helpful. Please subscribe, please give a thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next video. Hello everyone, this is Dr. Ahmed Ergin. I'm an endocrinologist, a diabetes specialist, and a diabetes education specialist. Diabetes is my passion, and today I'm going to talk to you about how to bring blood sugar down fast. We live in a fast society, and everybody wants to do everything fast. Well, that's not always the best thing, and I'll tell you why, but I'll also tell you how to bring it fast. So it's like, I'll tell you how to do it, but I'll tell you the risks associated with it, so you decide what to do with it, okay? So, let's get into it. Now, you can bring your blood sugar fast in different ways. If you're newly diagnosed diabetic, sometimes you get shocked, oh my God, what am I gonna do? I got diabetes, I get that sentence, and then you start watching these YouTube videos, the guys are talking about, don't eat this, don't eat that, you're dead, you're out. And then you get into this extreme motivation, and you're like, okay, I'm not gonna eat anything, I'm gonna just eat steak and bacon all day long. Well, that brings your blood sugar down. Is that good for you? Not really. Totally wrong. Totally wrong. So, you should not be living on a saturated fat diet and keep your blood sugar down, because that is going to destroy your blood vessels and arteries, and you're going to end up dying from a heart attack or stroke with the very nice blood sugars. There you have it. Now, you can definitely change your diet, but I do not recommend like this extreme diets where you cut all the carbs out of your life. That is not maintainable. But definitely, there are a lot of people who are addicted to sodas, there are a lot of people who are addicted to bread, they're addicted to rice, culturally, whatever it is. If you can start learning about portion control and understand, look at my diabetic diet video, click on the link. The diabetic diet video makes you understand about the portion control, the moderation, and all that good stuff that you were not even thinking about before. Now you start thinking about it, and you're going to realize your blood sugar will be dramatically different. By the time you get diabetes, you lose around 70-80% of your insulin production capacity. The cells that produce insulin are gone. So people think that they're going into remission because they're cutting the carbs completely. It's like saying, oh, well, I'm not rich because I'm not spending any money. Well, that's not going to last too long, right? You're going to end up needing stuff. So just like that, you cannot just cut the carbs and say, oh, my diabetes has suddenly disappeared. It did not disappear. It's just you just covered it up. So the moment you start eating carbs, your blood sugar goes up again. So you have to have a long-term plan, and the long-term plan is portion control, keeping your carbohydrates low, sticking with the healthy carbs, and we have a lot of videos about that in this channel. Now, of course, the diet will help you a lot. The second thing is you have to make sure you use aggressive methods to bring your blood sugar down. Because when your blood sugars are so high, your pancreatic beta cells, which are the insulin-producing cells, are struggling to make any insulin. It's like, think like an economical crisis where there's money, but nobody wants to spend it, and everybody's scared. Your beta cells are like that. When the sugar is so high, your beta cells are like stunned. They don't want to do anything. Not that they cannot do it, they just don't want to do anything. They don't even understand what's going on because blood sugars are so high, because your beta cells understand the difference. But if it is always high, the difference is only between 350 to 400, your beta cells are like, what is this? They don't get it. So we call this glucotoxicity. Glucose is toxic to your beta cells. Now, what you do is you go find a good doctor who understands diabetes. Not a chiropractor, not a YouTube guy who works at a church and talks about eating carbs. You need to find a doctor who understands diabetes, who is specializing in this. You don't have to see me. I'm not telling you that. You need to find someone who is passionate about diabetes, who went to school for that. Not just passion. Passion is not enough. You also have to know what you're doing. Now, with that approach, that doctor can formulate a plan to just bring your blood sugar down within a week or two. A lot of my patients, when they come in, they're desperate. They say, whatever I do is not working, or hey, I cannot just stop my carbs like they say, etc., etc. We always find a tailored plan to bring the blood sugar down with a combination of medications. Now, they first get scared. They're like, oh, this is like a couple of medications at the same time. But I tell them, look, we are going to back off, but we have to attack this aggressively at first, get the blood sugar down, and I bet you your beta cells will start working again, and we're going to, of course, moderation in your diet is going to be the key at the same time, but we're going to start pulling those medications back off once your A1C comes to almost normal levels. So we bring people's A1C from 15% down to 5% on a daily basis. So you look at some YouTube videos, they make it look like this is like a very rare event. No, this happens 20 times in my clinic every day, all day. We bring people's blood sugar down very quickly with the aggressive approach. Now, you don't have to have a lot of medications either. So just a few medications, strong medications together with a good diet approach, you can bring your blood sugar down. Now, what medications you can take? GLP-1 agonist class, which we talk about, we have another video that talks about the best diabetic medicines. Click below, click on the link, and we have that great video that talks about the best diabetic medications. But as I said, you don't have to be on them forever. Also, I have created a diabetic support supplement that actually works in my practice almost as good as any other diabetic drug in the market. And finally, I'm going to launch that in around 2 months, and I know you guys will love it. But that natural approach also helps save a lot of patients from using other medications. Now, as I said, we are using natural or regular medications to bring the blood sugar down fast, and then we let your body take over and start making insulin again whenever you need. Alright, so of course we talked about the diet, we talked about the medications, and of course diet is a very important, exercise is a very important part of it. I know a lot of people will say, I don't have time, this and that, but you can create, if just 30 minutes of your time, brisk walking, something like that every day. If you can incorporate this to your life, it's not going to only help your diabetes, it's going to help your heart disease, if any, or future heart disease. It's going to help your cholesterol. It's going to have a lot of benefits that you all know of. So incorporating a 30 minutes of exercise to your life, including the dietary modification and moderation in your diet, will help you still enjoy your life and bring your blood sugar down fast. And when I say fast, I mean like in a couple of weeks. You can bring your blood sugar down in a couple of weeks if you do this approach. Don't hesitate using the medications if you need to. But as I said, the moderation in your diet and exercise is your best friends. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next video. But before that, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Talk to you later.